Welcome, everybody, to another edition of CPG Insiders. I'm your host, Mark Young, co-host and podcast partner, Justin Gerard, standing by. This camera is just such a close-up on me today. So, see, I'm down in the Florida office here today. So, anyways, but it's a lot warmer here than it is where you are in Detroit.
Amen. The other thing I'm going to say is I almost wore that color today, so I'm excited that I didn't. It would have been a little weird.
Good choice.
Yeah.
All right. So, Justin, we're going to talk about something that we haven't covered before, and this is really important. We're going to talk about frequency effect.
Yes.
And the need for it and how it works and how to get it.
Yes.
So, when we talk about frequency, first let's set the table. Frequency is how many times have we delivered our message to a potential consumer? Now, keep in mind, frequency doesn't always have to happen on the exact same medium or the exact same channel. So frequency could be 2 radio commercials, a billboard, and the side of a truck going by. That would be 4 frequencies. Now, that's only a frequency if that consumer absorbed it. And also keep in mind that frequency is impacted by time. So there's an equation that we use, and that equation is that we approximately lose half a frequency. So the effect of half of a frequency for each week that gaps the next frequency. So if I see your TV commercial today, and then I see it 8 days from now, the second time, that's really the mental equivalency of 1.5 frequencies. Now, why is this important? It's important because it's how humans' brains work. When we first see something, our brain on an unconscious level is saying, what is that? It's the first time you see it. Well, what is that? Okay. Now, that may take 1 or 2 times. The next step our brain goes through is, oh, that's what it is. It's an ad for perfume, whatever the case is. And the perfume's called Sauvage, the cologne, whatever. Okay. Now, the next event that happens is what we'll call that consideration stage. I wonder if this is for me. I wonder if this applies to my life. Okay. Then the next step, which is that activation stage, which is this does apply to me. I want to try this. Okay. Now, in digital ads, that process takes what's referred to as the rule of 17, and that takes 17 ads to make that happen. And there's a reason it takes 17 ads, folks, and that's the reason because it's called banner blindness. First off, the ad is very tiny. I'm probably looking at it on a little cell phone screen. And there's lots of other activity going on. And the ad's an interruption to what I want to see, and I have the ability to go past it. So if I'm in a Facebook account and I'm looking at the grandkids or the neighbors or my friends or my soccer team, whatever the case is, and as I'm scrolling through, an ad pops up, I can just take my finger and swipe it down and it's gone.
Yep.
This is the reason why digital ads have to have explosive hooks in the first second. This is why they have to have something that rattles the viewer instantly to stop the swipe.
It's got to be disruptive.
This is not the case in television and radio. Now, in traditional media, that frequency of 17 becomes approximately the rule of 7.
Hmm.
Now, the reason, and it used to be actually 3.4.
Yeah, yeah. Before all this media consumption happened.
So now we have this rule of 7. So it's a lot easier for me to reach frequency on a radio and on a TV, but a lot more expensive. Not from a cost per thousand standpoint, but from an investment standpoint,
Yep.
because these are more costly mediums. Now, the reason that it's 7 instead of 17 is because on a TV commercial, the average TV now in America is 65 inches. Can you imagine that's the average television size now?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's monstrous.
Oh yeah, I remember. Gosh, years ago,
Yeah.
my dad was so excited because he got a 50-inch, right? But that
Mm-hmm.
50-inch TV took up like over a quarter of the living room because it was so big.
Yeah.
So massive.
Now you got very commonly people buying 80 and 100-inch televisions.
Yeah.
So when your ad runs on TV, it's 65 inches large.
Yes.
And what else? You can't swipe it,
Mhm.
and there's nothing else on the screen to distract you.
Yep.
So it's a singular message
Hmm.
that also has audio and video, and it's big.
Yep.
And I'll give everybody a demonstration. So tell me the last digital ad you saw this week. You have no idea.
I remember the last one. So many.
Because either they hook you in a second or they are out of your mind.
Yep.
But you can remember TV commercials you saw, because television commercials are very sticky.
Yes.
And television commercials have more credibility and they have more branding.
Much
But
higher recall.
right, but this show's not about comparing television to anything else. So I'm talking about this frequency. The same thing applies to radio. Radio tends to perform very similar to television, where you need those 7 frequencies to get an activation. Now, how do we do this? Well, we have to look at some math here. When we're talking about television, and let me go over to our graph first, and we'll put this graph in the show notes so that people have it. This is a graph we put together based on Nielsen research. And Nielsen research shows us that one exposure to an ad has an impact of a 0 to 14% lift in outcome. Okay? 2x is 15 to 25, 3 to 5x, 30 to 60, and here we go. 6 to 8 impressions, 70 to 80% impact increase.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing an ad one time versus seeing an ad 6 to 8 times, the ad that you see 6 to 8 times will be 70 to 80% more productive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now we have 9 to 12, and 9 to 12 is in the 75 to 85% range. So notice that 8, that 7, 8, 6 to 8, that 7, 8 is really the real money spot.
Yeah.
9 to 12 times doesn't go backward, but it doesn't go forward much.
Yeah.
Now comes the question of what happens at 13 to 15 times. 13 to 15 times plus, now the ads actually go the other way. They start to come down.
Why would that happen?
So the reason that happens is because our brains have something in them called a reticular activating system, which is in the back of your head. And this is the part of your brain that cuts out unnecessary noise. So right now, you're in your office, and there are people walking around on the other side of that office.
Yep.
And there's probably people making noise back there, and there's probably an air conditioner running, and there could be a phone ringing in the background. but your brain is tuning it out because it's not important right now. What's important is what you're doing.
Mm.
If our brains took in all the information that is available, we would go mad. We would never be able to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And this is actually a little bit about what happens to the ADHD patient.
Mm.
The ADHD patient is getting too much, the reticular activating system isn't filtering enough out, and that's why they are distractible. That's why you hear the old joke, squirrel, because they're distractible. Okay?
Okay.
So, at any rate, once we've seen this ad enough times, and remember, our brain said, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what that is. I wonder if that's for me. I think I'm going to try that. The next thing your brain says is, I already know what that is. I don't need to pay attention to it. I already know that.
Makes sense.
So that's that final step in your brain. This is the reason why major ad agencies, or not major agencies, but major advertisers are constantly replacing their spots. So think about, let's go to insurance spots.
Mm-hmm.
So think about Geico, Progressive. Think about how many spots they run and how frequently they rotate those spots. So notice they might even have a spot where it's on the shore with the Statue of Liberty in the background, but the people and the gag keeps changing.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I'm familiar that it's Geico, I'm familiar that it's insurance, but I want to see the new joke.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And also, if anyone listened to our episode about TikTok, which if you haven't, it was a great episode. We talk about the average burnout rate of ads is 10 days or less.
Mm-hmm.
Medium.
Yep.
Same thing.
So this is what happens. So to answer the question, when does your TV commercial need to be replaced? It's not an answer we can give you based on a calendar. It's an answer we can give you based on frequency.
Right. Right. It all depends on how much you're running that piece of creative.
So one piece of information I want to share with people is simply this. There is more money lost every year on underinvested ad campaigns than is ever lost on overinvested ad campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people try to be a little bit pregnant with an ad campaign.
Yeah.
And then it fails. And the reason it fails was because they never got to the promised land.
Mm.
And the promised land is 6 to 8 frequencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to run 2 spots a week. I'm going to run 3 TV spots a week. Will it lift your sales? Yes.
Yeah.
15% maybe.
Right.
But is it going to give you that 80% bump? Never.
No.
Because we haven't let people have enough exposure to it.
Yep.
Now, when we think about frequency, I'm going to use television and radio as my example for a moment here. So let me pull up my calculator here and let's do a little math here. There are 10,080 minutes in a full 7-day week.
Okay.
168 hours, 60 minutes,
Yep.
10,080 minutes. Let's say that your TV commercial runs on a television network and you've got 30-second spots. And let's say that you're going to run 10 spots a week.
Sounds good.
Okay. That's an equation of 10,080 over 5 minutes. So think about what percentage you now have of the entire clock on that network. Now, granted, primetime and daytimes and mornings are more valuable than overnight. but it gives you a little bit of a feel for what you're up against.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not even talking about fighting share of voice right now. We're just talking about frequency.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that adds a whole other layer of complexity to this.
Correct. So right now, I'm just talking about simple math.
Right.
Now, part of what we look at is what we call time with media.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're choosing a radio station, choosing a social media platform, choosing a television network, time with media is really important. And the reason time with media is important is simply this. How many clients have you ever had come to you and say, "Oh, we really want to get on the Weather Channel. We love the Weather Channel."
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the average time with media is on the Weather Channel?
I'm gonna guess 3 minutes.
It's between 6 and 8.
Okay. I remember there was always weather on the 8s. So.
Yep. So people tune into the weather for an average of 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the average. Okay. What do you think is the average time on network with CNN?
I'm gonna guess it's more. So, I don't know, 30 to 60 minutes, maybe.
It's an hour to an hour 30.
Okay.
And now let's go to Fox News. So you want to take a guess on that one? 2.5.
Okay. Okay.
Now, what we have to keep in mind when we're talking about, let's use Fox News as our example. The average person does not watch Fox News for 2.5 hours end to end.
Right. They're checking in.
So they'll do a 20 to 30 minute morning check-in.
Mm-hmm.
They might do an afternoon check-in. Then they may have one or two prime access or prime time talents that they are fans of.
Right. I'm a fan of this host. So
Right. So I might say, I really love Jesse Waters and Sean Hannity.
Right.
So I watch those two shows. So there's my 2 hours and I had my 30 minutes in the morning.
Yep.
So when we're looking at these spots, and I'm just kind of giving the audience the backstage things that are going on in our office,
Yeah.
we're looking at, okay, what do I have to do to get this frequency in this audience?
Yes.
Now, the other piece of advice I want to give people is this gets back to niche marketing. We're always telling people the riches are in the niches.
Mm-hmm.
It's far better to be passionately desired by 4 or 5 million people than to be known by 340 million.
Right.
And my example of being known by 340 million is everybody in America has heard of Kmart, but nobody wanted to go there.
Right.
So having name recognition doesn't equate to success.
Mm-hmm.
What equates to success is being known. So if you had an option, would you rather own Kmart or own Lululemon?
Right. Right. Hands down. I mean, that's easy.
Which is a super niche retailer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Started out selling yoga pants.
Right.
But Lululemon is, I mean, obviously more value than Kmart now, but Lululemon became infinitely more valuable than Kmart, even when Kmart was still in business.
Right. And you've always used the example of Kmart versus Target because they were close, but Target found a niche.
Absolutely. And Target was a much smaller company back when they competed, but Target figured out they could own the category of cheap chic.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with their, what was it, Mazzotti and all these designers and
Yep.
fancy plates and tableware and home decor and things of that nature with a lot of in-house fashion designers and what we'll call B-listers and even B-list product lines of bigger fashion designers. And people would go to Target and they would even kid around and call it Target
Mm-hmm.
because it is cheap chic. So they had a reason for going there. Kmart was just blue light special.
Yep.
Now keep in mind, at one point, Kmart had a niche. That blue light special mattered.
It did.
what happened was the blue light special became a parody of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it actually became a reason not to go there.
And Walmart runs some of this risk because Walmart has, you can go online and get Walmart bingo apps for your phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you literally walk around a Walmart store and you try to fill out a bingo card looking for bizarre people.
Yep. I've seen them.
Absolutely. That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart has managed to stay relevant because Walmart has crossed the Rubicon to be so big and so efficient and so powerful that whether you are embarrassed to go to Walmart or not, you cannot challenge the pricing.
Right. Right. They own too much of the market. They control the pricing.
Right. You know they're going to have the product and you know they're going to have the best price.
Exactly.
And by the way, folks, it is not that I'm a big Walmart fan. I like the company. Mm-hmm. If you go to Walmart, you probably are going to get the lowest price.
Yes.
Because Walmart negotiates, for any of you who are not in Walmart yet, Walmart negotiates a contract with you that guarantees that they will always have the lowest price. Mm-hmm. And other than Sam's Club and Costco, Walmart usually runs at the lowest margin.
Yep.
So they run a thinner margin than a Target.
Yes.
So as a shopper, yeah, it's going to be the lowest price. Even if I hate going to Walmart, I still know they're going to have cheap groceries and I'm going to go there and buy them.
Yep, exactly.
So anyways, back to this frequency thing. How do we get frequency that we can afford? Well, the way we get frequency that we can afford is let's not try to tell our message to 340 million people. Let's tell our message to a smaller group of people who are in our demo, who may be desirous of what we have and are frequently using a medium where we can afford to have frequency. Mm-hmm. So an example would be Sirius XM. So Sirius XM reaches, what are they at, 28 million subscribers? 24, 28?
I think they're closer to 30 now, but.
So somewhere we'll say 30 million. Okay, 30 million subscribers. That's not 340 million. Mm-hmm. It's 30 million. Is it okay to go after that 30 million? Yes, and we're going to even niche that 30 million down even further. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to say, well, we're going to go after Sirius XM, where we can get a good cost per thousand. We're going to target networks where people don't push the buttons, mm-hmm. which is going to be news and sports and talk. Mm-hmm. And now we're just going to own that. Right. So we're just going to run ESPN and the sports channels on Sirius XM because we know that, men between the ages of 35 and 60 buy my product. And we're going to go work those people. Or we're going to buy trucker radio because we know that truckers buy my product. Or news viewers buy my product. So I'm going to buy Fox News, CNN, Headline News, whatever the case is. And I'm going to concentrate all my money there and put all my focus in that area. The same thing happens with TV. So let's say that we know a news buyer is a good customer for you. They could be conservative news. They could be liberal news. These are different buyers. Yep. They're not the same. And this is not me telling you one's better than the other because it depends what you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I was selling something for anxiety, I'm going to jump on CNN. Mm-hmm. If I'm selling something to... prepare for a disaster, I'm probably going to go to Fox News. Mm-hmm. But what we can do in these networks is a couple things. One, we can focus on time slots. So we don't have money to carpet bomb Fox News. So we might say, okay, we're going to put all our money in Fox and Friends in the morning.
Right.
And we're going to keep running Fox and Friends day in and day out, day in and day out, because Fox and Friends has probably 8 to 10 million people that are coming in and out. I just want to get ownership of that group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So where I'm going with this is there's a tendency amongst clients to say, well, let's spread our money all over the place. Let's have some Fox in the morning and Fox in the afternoon, and then let's do 2 at CNN, and let's do 1 over here at MSNBC, and let's do 3 spots over at Newsmax. This is not a winning strategy. This is death of 1,000 paper cuts.
Yep.
Because you're getting a frequency of 1.
Right. Right.
So yes, you're lifting your sales, but you're getting the impact of maybe 14 or 15% impact, not the 80% impact.
Right.
So it sounds counterintuitive when you think about it, Justin, because think about you're the client and we come to you and you say, well, my budget's $100,000 for the month. And we come back to you and tell you, okay, Fox News is a perfect lineup for you. And we want you to put all that money in a 3-hour window.
Right. It does sound crazy.
And you're saying, yeah, but what about the people who watch Sean Hannity?
Right. What about primetime, baby?
Yeah, and what about Jesse Waters? And what about the 5?
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Now, if you just happen to be a client who's in love with the 5, and you think that's your demographic, and we agree that's your demographic, then we're going to put all the money there.
Yep. Yes.
Because we need to get the frequency.
Yes.
This is how you move the needle. Now, the bigger your budget, the more stuff we can buy.
Of course.
But the moral of this story, to really wrap up where we're going here, the moral of this story is less is more.
Absolutely.
There's 168 minutes in a week.
And the other things that we've, talked about, and you were talking about it here a little bit too, when you were referencing in the beginning about the role of frequency and for, the listeners who have always, referenced the funnel, right? And you walked through the different levels and you were talking about it. That's also why when we're talking about and we're having a conversation about television, but it's why you also have to make sure that you are leveraging a omni-channel approach, because every touch point is going to add to that frequency as long as you're telling the same consistent story. So one, you need to ensure that in the beginning, from a creative standpoint, that you've gone through it and said, this is our story, this is how we tell it in the places that match up with this audience. So we need to make sure we are there so we can also additionally get those other points of frequency that'll help, which the frequency only matters if it's telling the same story. You're trying to tell multiple different things, you're not actually getting the impact of frequency. So you need to ensure you're taking advantage of that and you're doing that work up front to ensure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's number one. The other thing that I wanted to bring up here, Mark, and I wanted to ask you this question first, because one of the things you were talking about was ways to be able to, for lack of a better term, hack the system, right? And you talked about going after niches and make sure your targeting is correct, whether that's from an audience perspective and a media perspective. How does creative play into this? How does your message and your story play into this frequency model?
The creative is it is sometimes hard to get clients to understand how valuable the creative is.
Mm-hmm.
So the creative doesn't necessarily mean great creative is going to be 5% better.
Right.
Sometimes great creative versus bad creative and bad production is literally the difference between amazing results and 0 results.
Yes.
So the industry norm is that your creative you should probably be willing to spend 10% of the budget on the creative. Mm-hmm. $1 million ad campaign should be willing to spend 100 of it on assets.
Yep.
And we see this when we see, big clients with 10, 20, 30, $40 million campaigns. It's pretty normal for them to spend $1 million to $5 million on a TV commercial.
Or, sets of them.
Yeah, we were looking at the Uber commercial yesterday with Kevin Bacon in Uber, and Uber paid Kevin Bacon $5 million.
Right, that's just for him.
Right, for him. Right. They probably spent another $1 million to make it.
Yeah, easily.
Okay, but how big was the campaign?
Right.
And how big was the result? Because Kevin Bacon was dancing about Uber.
Right.
And in fact, they even had his daughter with him, I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
In the spot.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it matters. Mm-hmm. It matters. Dramatically matters. Yeah. We've taken good commercials and replaced them with even a better commercial, and seeing 20-25% lift in POS numbers in a week. In 1 week's time. We have a commercial going right now for a product called Be Cozy. I'm going to talk about Be Cozy, which is a travel neck pillow. Mm-hmm. And Be Cozy's are wonderful guys with a great product. And we're seeing firsthand, because it's direct response, we're seeing in real time how the frequency plays out. So literally we can watch on a day-by-day basis and watch the numbers go up on the exact same commercial in the exact same time slot. Mm-hmm. Because frequency, and it is enormously impactful. Yep. And the creative they have great creative.
And that's what I wanted to go towards, is making sure that, yes, this is a great show to talk about the impact of frequency, how it works, why it works, and then how there are different tactics and approaches based on potentially your resources to get to that result mathematically of the frequency. But we cannot state enough the importance of the message, the importance of the creative, the importance of the story. If you do not have a good story, it does not matter how much money you spend or where you spend it, it's not going to work. But on the flip side, if you have a great story, it can dramatically impact these results. Dramatically, because it connects. It immediately jumps into that mind.
Just to convolute all this math a little further, in case we haven't made it complicated enough, I'm going to give you one other thing to think about. Duration of exposure impacts frequency.
Yes, that's a good point.
Okay, so a 30-minute infomercial requires a frequency of 1.
Right. I have so much time with you.
Yep, because I got all this time with you. And by the way, the average infomercial is watched for 16 minutes, not for 30, because very rarely does somebody, it's 8 p.m., my favorite infomercial's on now.
You don't tune into the infomercial.
No, you trip upon an infomercial.
Right.
And this is why in today's world, and in the old days, back when I was a kid, back in those crazy 90s and 2000s, that was the heyday of the long form infomercial, because people didn't have streaming television.
Yeah.
And they didn't have DVRs. So people would watch TV, and they would pick up a remote, and they had 200 TV channels, and they would start on channel 1, and they would just work their way north until they found something they liked. And that's why we always put celebrities in the infomercials, because the celebrity would get them to stop pushing the button.
Yep.
Because I'm click, 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 click. Oh, there's Chuck Woolery. Click, click, click. There's Chuck Norris. I like Chuck Norris. What's he doing? And because Chuck Norris is standing there, all of a sudden you're watching an infomercial about Total Gym.
Yep.
So that's the value that Chuck Norris would bring to that. The second value that celebrity, of course, brought to that is, well, that's Chuck Norris, and he's 75 years old and can still kick my butt, so this exercise thing probably works.
Yep. The authority.
So that was what worked. Now, today, the long form infomercial is not nearly as popular.
Mm-hmm.
And today, long form infomercials are very dependent on what we call lead in.
Mm.
So, if you want an infomercial to work today, it needs to come after something that had a good audience.
That makes sense.
So, I'm watching 9 a.m. morning local news, and the infomercial comes on right after the news ended. So, I can grab some of that news audience and try to hold on to them.
Yeah.
But let's go back to normal lengths of television and radio: 15, 30, 60, 120. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A 15-second spot, if possible, has the 70% of the recall of a 30.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a message that I can tell in 15s, or if I have a message that I can tell in 30s and 15s, where I can like run a flight of 30s and then I can start sprinkling in 15s, the 15 will usually cost me half the price to run as the 30,
Yeah.
but has 70% of the value.
Right. Right.
Now, also keep in mind that a 30-second spot has roughly 70% of the value of a 60-second spot. So when we're looking for this frequency of 7, if we're running 60 or 120-second spots, that frequency can tighten up and get closer to the 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
if we've got the longer spot.
Yep.
But one of the things I want to get people to open their mind up to is, don't lock your brain into, I can only run 30-second radio, I can only run 30-second TV. There are times when 60s is the right thing to do because you have a story that takes that.
It is agreed. It's all about being able to tell the story. The story is what's most important. That's the thing that you cannot sacrifice on. So whatever length it takes to tell that story, that's what's most important.
There are other times where 15 seconds can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably one of the most famous advertisers for having the shortest TV spot in history is Master Lock.
Mm-hmm.
And Master Lock actually ran years ago a 2-second commercial.
Hmm.
And it worked.
It's wild.
Here's the 2-second commercial. It opened on a master padlock hanging on the latch, hanging on a door latch on a wooden door.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a gunshot. The bullet blows straight through the padlock. So there's a big hole right in the padlock.
Yeah.
And a guy's hand grabs the padlock and it's still locked.
I guess what else do you need to know?
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And what was the message? Master locks are bulletproof.
Mm-hmm. Done.
Now, in today's world, they probably wouldn't even let us shoot a bullet through something on TV.
They'd never let you air that.
Right. We couldn't even get away with it now.
No.
Because literally you heard the gunshot and you saw the bullet just blow a hole through the lock.
Yeah. We couldn't run that now.
But it shows the point that sometimes you can tell your message in a couple of seconds.
Absolutely.
Depends what we're selling.
And again, getting back around to what you're talking about, how do we create this frequency? And it's all about getting back around to that story and that campaign development. And then if I can tell this story in 30 seconds here on my television, and I can throw a 15 in, and then maybe I can reach them again on CTV with the 15, and then on social I can have somebody else telling the same story, and maybe it's only 6 because that's all I need because it's this level of frequency. It's constantly what we're trying to talk to our clients about is, what is your story? Who is the customer? Now, how can we tell this story? What do we need to tell this whole story, and the different ways that we can do it, matching up to them? So there's so many ways, but it all comes back around to what you're talking about here, which is understanding your story and understanding your customer's story. Now let's tell that. Now, how do we tell that? And how do we tell that story effectively with the resources we have? That's what we do. That's our job, right?
Well, I hope that was helpful for everybody, because I think that was an important show.
I agree.
As always, folks, if you've got questions about your brand or about what you're trying to do, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us at jekyllhydelabs.com or cpginsiders.com. We're easy to get a hold of. You can also go to either of those websites, and there's a talk to us button where you can talk to Virtual Mark. And you can ask Virtual Mark questions. Yep. So it is our AI clone of me, and it has all the podcasts and all the books I've written and all the white papers that are all programmed into it. And you can ask questions 24 hours a day and get an answer from me.
Yep.
And I've played with it, Justin. It's actually pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty solid. It's getting better every day.
This does not mean that you can't talk to me, but this does mean this is literally 24-hour access of being able to ask questions.
Yep.
So use it. It's free. Yep. And that's it for today. If you like today's podcast, make sure you go to wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Really would appreciate if you leave us reviews, because that helps us get this out more. Yeah. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Other than that, that's it for this episode. We'll see you on the next show. If you're looking to greatly increase sales on your CPG product, don't hesitate to contact us at Jekyll & Hyde Advertising and Marketing. By the way, the only advertising agency with a guaranteed result. Just go to jekyllhydeagency.com or feel free to give us a call at 800-500-4210.